This week, I've had another of those times where, and I've mentioned this to you before, as I get older and encounter more things that we used to call coincidence somewhere along the way, I feel like I see the Spirit doing things more often that I didn't notice before. And this week has been one of those. I have, the later part of this year, been rereading this book, The Gift of Ministry, that was written by Mike Ireland, who spoke to us on a Wednesday night this summer. He was my preacher for 10 years. And I love the book. The first time I read it, I just kind of read quickly. I think this is my third time through now. The second time, I noticed in the preface that the one who wrote the preface, Bruce McClarty, who used to be the president at Harding, said that this is best read little pieces at a time. And I thought, Bruce was right, as he usually is. And so I went through the second time just reading one chapter every day. And his chapters are about 4 pages long. And so it's a pretty quick read, and I read it when I get to the office in the morning. And midway through this year, I thought, I should really read that again. I benefited from it. It reminds me a lot of good things about ministry. He says in the beginning of the book that some of the stories are real, but he's changed the names to protect the innocent or the guilty. And having worked with him for 10 years, I have recognized myself in a few of those stories. And it's always kind of brings a smile on my face when that happens. But mid-year, I started doing this, and I'll have to admit, I have not been regular about it. And so I might go through a week and not touch it at all. I might go through a week and read 2 of them every day to try to catch up a little bit. But the pace of that, the way it has worked out, last week, I think it was on Tuesday, I found that I'm reading a section where he has taken each chapter from the book of Philippians. And I thought, okay, me feeling like that I've been getting behind on this reading or not doing this the right way has put these at the exact time that we're reading through Philippians, and I'm preaching on Philippians, and I just don't think that's coincidence. And so I'm going to do something this morning that I don't normally do if you're visiting with us. I will go to books every now and then. Usually I'll do it on a Sunday evening if I am. But Mike had an outline in one chapter of this book for this part of Philippians that I thought was perfect for what we're doing. So I am going to borrow heavily from Mike this morning, but he is better at this than I am, so that's okay. So he introduces the idea in this way. He's trying to imagine having a conversation with Paul the Apostle. And the question he asks Paul is this: Brother Paul, we work with Christians who are weak and easily deceived, who have misplaced values, a distorted view of reality, and who are often apathetic and just plain stubborn. You don't know anyone like that, do you? I knew someone like that when I looked in the mirror to fix my hair this morning, so I get it. But we deal with folks like this a lot. Now, he also makes a point in the chapter that really resonated with me and probably has been my biggest takeaway with the readings this week, that as preachers, it is easy for us to talk so much about the negatives of the church or the world or whatever it is that you leave feeling kind of beat up. And I don't want to do that today. That's not my point in this. In fact, I was thinking as we were singing the last song before I got up here, just this morning, of all of the different things that have been going on to make the church better. I thought of Hunter as he was up here doing the second prayer during our communion time, mentioned to me that he was going to be leaving early, not because he was offended by the sermon, which I appreciate, but he was leaving early because he's going over to preach at Hammond Heights. Which I thought, how cool is that? That you are here and a part of this service, and then you're there and part of that service offering something that they have need of this morning in preaching. I thought of all of the different things that are going on even right now. We have people in the back that are making sure everybody has what they need. We have safety people that are walking around making sure that we're safe in here as we worship. We have sound and video that you never notice unless something goes wrong. We have all of these things that are going on that the church is doing, good things. And so it's not just all of the distortions, all of the bad things. There's good going on too. But sometimes we feel this way. Sometimes we get frustrated with one another, frustrated with progress or lack thereof, frustrated with whatever the preacher that changed up the order this morning, whatever it may be. You get frustrated with things, and how do we deal with people? And Paul would say, yes, that sounds exactly like my brethren. I know exactly what you mean. So all of these churches that Paul is writing to, all of the people that he deals with the same stuff we deal with now. which is a lot of why I think that the Spirit inspires him to write these letters so that we can better understand, well, what do we do with that? So he says then, but Brother Paul, how do we handle that? What do we do with these folks? How do we build a healthy church? And these are great questions that lots of people have written books about, but Mike's assertion in this chapter is, Paul answers this question in Philippians chapter 1. That if you were to ask Paul, what do we do about these people in the church? This is how Paul would respond. So he begins in Philippians chapter 1, verses 3 and 4. I thank my God in all my remembrance of you, always in every prayer of mine for you all, making my prayer with joy. So first of all, if we're trying to build people up, if we're trying to encourage, if we want to make the church better, we need to pray for them. Pray for the other people who we encounter. Pray for the people who are a part of our church. And he's very positive in that prayer. He's someone who is concerned about their well-being, about their walk with Christ, and he prays for them regularly. And I would imagine that immediately some of us may feel convicted here of, I'm not very good at that. You may be good, there's a prayer list every week in the bulletin. Maybe you're good about praying for those people, or maybe you're not. Maybe you're good when there's a special announcement that comes along of a surgery or a loss or something that's happening. There's a specific immediate need. Maybe you pray about that. Maybe even in your own life, and maybe this is part of why we struggle with praying for each other, we don't pray enough ourselves or for ourselves. But Paul makes a habit with all of these churches he interacts with of praying for them. And you don't have to look far within his letters to see it. He opens almost every one of them that way, talking about the prayers he has for them, the desires he has for them, what he wants for them to be and do and not be and not do. He is constantly in prayer for the people that he cares about, the people of the church. And I believe that if we do this, our church is better. I don't think there's any way that if we all just began this week praying for one another within the church, I think we would see a clear difference by next Sunday. I don't know exactly what it looks like. I don't know what it is, but what does it feel like when you find out that someone is praying for you? It's one thing to hope there will be prayers, but when someone sends you a card or someone says to you, you know, I've been praying for you this week, doesn't that to make you feel good, to feel loved, to feel like they care about your soul? We should be doing that for each other. So Paul begins by praying for them. Then he continues in verse 5. Because of your partnership in the gospel from the first day until now. So if we want to build people up, if we want to encourage others, first of all, we pray for them, but secondly, we partner together with them. This is not something where we say, hey, you go and best of luck with that. We want to be a part of this work together. So in this church family, there are all kinds of opportunities for things like that. There was a group here yesterday working on a float for the Christmas parade of all things. And that's a unique group of talents that's probably not the things we normally look for. There was a group on Wednesday over at the Yellow House unloading and packaging and organizing all of this food for our community. And there will be another group on Monday morning, tomorrow, giving that food away. There are all these opportunities to partner together with one another to do ministry, to do the work of the church. Are we walking alongside each other in doing and training? I love when I see Drew and David get up here and they lead a song together. And I think to myself, David is learning what it is to be someone who is active and working in the church. My wife had a cousin that went to church at Memorial Road, and when his son was smaller, his job was cleaning the church vehicles. And he would take his son up there on Saturday with him to clean up the church vehicles. And his son learned we do on our day off things to benefit the kingdom, things to help with the church. We partner with each other. And this is a challenge for us. If you are here and you are doing and you are working, you're a deacon over something, you're over some kind of ministry, you're just active, how often is it easier just to do it and get it done than to bring someone alongside to work and do that with you? We can be challenged to be people who partner with each other to work for the kingdom. Mike kind of explains it this way. He says, the work of Christ is the noblest work in the world, and it provides the most wonderful basis for love and friendship. I have been on so many mission trips and service projects with people who normally you would not see these same people working hand in hand, and yet they build this incredible bond because of the work they're doing, because it's something bigger than themselves. Joy comes from the cooperative effort of many hearts and hands. Few things draw folks closer together than working hand in hand for something they believe in. Make yourself a partner. Partner together, doing the work of God. Then verse 6, he says, I am sure of this, that he who began a good work in you will bring it to completion at the day of Jesus Christ. So we're praying for them, we're partnering together to them, and then we're expecting the best from them. When there are people around us, so often, at least someone like me, who tends to lean a little bit cynical, might expect the worst. We talk football here from time to time. Our kicker missed another one yesterday. And I find myself, when he goes out on the field, I am not thinking good thoughts. I am thinking there's a pretty good chance I'm going to watch something go off a crossbar or flail off to the side or get blocked or whatever. I'm just not really expecting the best. And I can get that into my life with all kinds of things where I begin to think, well, you're just going to fail, or I'm just going to fail. We're just going to, the same things that always trip us up and catch us, it's going to happen again. And Paul, even though he knows their shortcomings, writes in a way that says, I expect the best of you. How different is it for us when we talk to one another if we're not cynical, if we're not negative, but if instead we show people that we expect and want the best from what they do? Paul wants that from each of these churches he writes to. Even the ones that are really messed up and really flawed, he expects the best. Verse 12, in chapter 2 and verse 12, he kind of reiterates this idea. He says, my beloved, as you have always obeyed, not so now, not only in my presence, but much more in my absence. He expects the best even when he's not there. It's not that he thinks, well, I've got to be here to make sure you're doing. He expects them to do the right thing even when he's not present with them. He wants the best for them. Continuing on in chapter 1 and verse 7. It is right for me to feel this way about you all, because I hold you in my heart. For you are all partakers with me of grace, both in my imprisonment and in the defense and confirmation of the gospel. For God is my witness how I yearn for you all with the affection of Christ Jesus. We need to love them. Paul loves all of these churches he writes to. And listen to his language there. You are in my heart. What does that mean for us to have someone in our heart? They're close to us. They matter to us. And then he yearns for them. Do you know anyone in your life or the people that you care about that you just yearn to be with? It's that time of year, isn't it? Where we're getting together with family and all of those kinds of things, and there are people you haven't seen in a while, and you yearn to have that time together with them. Paul yearns for these people. How do we feel about our fellow Christians, our fellow church members? Do we love them to the point that if they are missing, it bothers us? Do we love them to the point that if we're away for a little bit, we are just so excited to be back and see them again? He yearns for them daily. Then verses 9 through 11, he says this, and it is my prayer that your love may abound more and more with knowledge and all discernment, so that you may approve what is excellent, and so be pure and blameless for the day of Christ, filled with the fruit of righteousness that comes through Jesus Christ to the glory and praise of God. Listen to all the things he wants for them. He wants their love to abound more and more. He doesn't want to just love them. He wants for them to love one another and for that love to continue to grow and to get better. He wants them to be able to approve, to know what is excellent. He wants them to have a clear idea, what's right, what's wrong, to be able to choose the right way. He wants them to be pure and blameless. He wants them to be able to come before Christ not worried, not with that answer you hear so often of, if you died today, would you go to heaven? And so many people would say, I hope so. He wants them to be confident to know where they're going to be. He wants them to be filled with the fruit of righteousness. And if you were here last time, we talked about the fruit of the Spirit. He wants them to be so full of that it is just overflowing out of them. And people will see the fruit of who they are. We need to want the best for people within our church family, with people around the world who are following Christ. We need to want the best for them. So what does that say for us in America in 2025? We don't need to want bad things for them. And so often there are people within our world that we don't have the best thoughts about. people in our world that we maybe want to see fail or want to see them get what's coming to them. And Paul is not interested in those things. Paul wants the best for the people who he's praying for there in the church in Philippi. Mike brings it together this way, and I think this is beautiful. He says, I believe Paul would say that the way to build a church is to build people. There's so many different books about how to build a church and how to grow a church. And Paul would say it's people. Are we building, are we growing people? It is slow and demanding. And we don't like slow and demanding all that much, do we? We like fast and simple. If there was a new restaurant to open in town, and you came to me and said, have you been there? What's it like? And I said to you, it's slow, and it's very difficult to get what you want. How excited would you be to go there? That's not the things we're looking for in life. And yet to build people, it is slow and demanding. They're going to mess up sometimes. If you were to go back in time and hear the first lesson that I ever preached, you would think to yourself, no. We don't want that guy. That's not the one. And slowly, it kind of changes over the course of time. If you were to go back in your own life and see you as a Christian on day one and the things you knew about Scripture and the things of the world you may be naive about and the lack of understanding you might have had to today, it has been a slow growth, but it has been a worthwhile growth. Building a church and building people is slow and demanding. It's challenging and tiring. Those are two more things that may be challenging. Maybe that lights your fire a little bit. You like to be challenged. But tiring, it's not necessarily something we seek after, is it? Now, we usually feel like it's a job well done, and it's been a good thing, but we don't usually go off thinking, man, it'd be great to just be totally worn out at the end of the day today. It's tiring. It's challenging. It can even be discouraging when they push back. When you know this is the right thing, when you know this is the way we need to grow, the way we need to follow Christ, and people push back on that. It's frustrating. And yet we just continue on. If it were your family, if it were your child, you would keep pushing. You would keep trying. And there are days where you may feel like giving up, but there's still that piece of you that it's your child, it's someone you care about, and you keep pushing. We need that kind of love, that care, that concern for one another. That even when it's challenging and discouraging, we keep going. But in the end, it is the answer to the call. After all, that's the way Jesus built his kingdom. And how true is that? Think of all of those times with Jesus and his disciples where they misunderstood, all of those times where it seems so clear as we read it and they fail, all of those times where they begin to get it right and then they step out of the boat and sink. All of those times where he has to explain something over and over and over again. And that is the same group of people in the book of Acts that builds a church and builds and grows. And through the work of the Spirit, things are done that change people's lives. And that changed the world, because here we are today, 2,000 years later, largely because of the work that was done by those flawed people all the way back in the first century. This morning, if you don't feel built up, then we're failing at our job. We need to be people who build one another up. This morning, maybe more so, if you're not building others up, you're failing at your job too. And if I'm not building others up, I'm failing at my job. God has called us to be people like Paul, who encourage, people who love, people who expect the best, people who are praying for one another. We need to be people who are constantly building each other up. And if we do, the church is a very, very different group of people. Today, if you don't feel encouraged, it's not because of the God that we serve. He has done so much in your world to try to encourage you and build you up. And sometimes we don't do everything we should do, but don't let that stop you from following him. Paul would tell you that if you're baptized into him, you are clothed in Christ. He will tell you in the book of Romans that you can walk in a new life. Throughout his books, you find him over and over again calling people to change and to confess and to be baptized and to walk a new life. And you can do that today. Or if you have been discouraged in your walk, you can come back to him today. You can be reminded what it is to follow Christ and what a good thing that is in your life. If there's some way we can help you this morning, one of our elders will be in the back, or you can come here to the front as we stand and sing.